What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to this evening's show. As always, very much appreciate you guys giving up some of your evening to have a chat with me. We're going to be talking transfers. We're going to be looking ahead to the Newcastle game. And we're going to be talking VAR, of course, because it wouldn't be a stream on Anfield Agenda without a little VAR discussion. I hope that you guys are in fine form. I hope life's treating you well. I hope all of your families are safe and you're enjoying the holiday season. So, let's get stuck into it. As always, I want you guys to help this show. You let me know the subjects you want to talk about. We will be talking about the title of the stream, of course. Liverpool looking at potentially bringing in a left back. You probably know who I'm talking about, but we will move and go through that in more detail. There will be some talk on Inacio, a little bit of a stat on Endo that shows why he is indeed a difference maker in Liverpool's midfield, and some other bits and pieces along the way. All that we want you guys to do is quite simple. Drop a like on the stream. Give us your thoughts in the comment section, and if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. Proud to say our community has now grown to 233,000 subscribers only because of your amazing support, so thank you again for that. Hello, how are we everyone? Nice to see you. Yes, I know I'm late, Yusuf. Do you know why I was late? I was trying to record a short, but I couldn't get it right, so I put it off to the end of the stream because I didn't want to delay it any longer. But yes, dude, I was late. But it was in a good cause. I was trying to make a bit of content, but couldn't get it done in time, so I had to push it on the side. Right. First time live, what's up, Craig? Nice to see you, Janie Bush. Welcome in, mate. I hope you enjoy the live show. It's what this channel is all about, really. We do most of our good work live, but of course we do make some videos. What else we got? Good evening. I'm absolutely buzzing if it's Anthony Robinson. He's class said werewolf or LFC werewolf, or no, it's LEI werewolf. So I've been reading the chat, as I always do before we start, just to get a feeling of what people's thoughts are about certain subjects. And it's fair to say that there is a lot of split over the Anthony Robinson thing, and we will go through that in more detail, of course. He is the left back that we're going to be talking about in tonight's stream. Anthony Robinson and Oit-Nuri, both great, said Nixie Boom. Yeah, the stuff on Oit-Nuri has gone fairly quiet. We definitely had been linked to him in, I think after, or it was either after the summer window or at the end of the summer window. But we were definitely linked with him. I haven't seen much lately, to be honest, with linking Liverpool with the Wolves defender. But I like Anthony Robinson. In some ways, I'd have concerns in other ways. But I also don't know yet if I'll put this in the it's a genuine link possibility. I need a couple of more journalists, I think, to get on board with it before I'd feel comfortable thinking it's something we're realistically looking at. But I'm not sure yet, so I'd love your take on it as well. So for first, I thought you were calling me bald, but then I don't know if you're saying Balde. But either way, if you're saying bald, dude, I mean, you added an E in there for no reason. If you're saying Balde, I don't know who you're talking about, so we'll move on from that one. We've got a United fan in the chat. Mate, you're very welcome in. We welcome everybody in. Doesn't matter who you support. As long as you're in for a bit of fun, bit of banter, we're all here for it. Right, really want Levi Colwill. Mate, imagine Colwill and Kwanzaa as the future, along with Canade of Liverpool's defence. It wouldn't be too shabby, but look, Levi Colwill signed a new deal with Chelsea, and like many of those players who signed on at Chelsea, I would be wondering if they have any regrets about that signature, because it's not going too great currently with Mauricio Pochettino and with Chelsea. A lot of players not getting minutes they wanted. So yeah, sometimes I do think people make wrong decisions, and Colwill I would have loved at Liverpool. Caicedo, I will forever feel he made the wrong decision going to Chelsea. Craig, can we win the league? Excuse me, that's not a question. Omar said, Craig, we can win the league. Just need some reinforcements. Hopefully Klopp makes the signings. I'm with you, Omar, on that one. And do you know what? I think us and Arsenal fans probably feel a similar way about this. You know, we can both think we have a chance to win the league, and rightly both think we have a chance to win the league. But I do think, and we said this with Lee Gunner and we chatted with him as well, this window's huge. If Arsenal can go out and strengthen one or two positions and we didn't do anything, I felt like we're handing the initiative back over to them. But there's one more factor, Omar, I want us to discuss about the league title race. And it's a big factor, and I think it's the elephant in the football room. And that is, of course, the officiating. I read an article from John Aldridge, who did the opinion piece in The Echo, and he was scathing of the officials and their decision making. And then you see the likes of David Maddock yesterday absolutely bewildered at the use of VAR, or the lack of use of VAR on some occasions yesterday as well. I can't be the only one. And when I say I can't be the only one, I mean I can't be the only fan, because I don't think this is a Liverpool only issue. I'm not, I know people think sometimes I have a bit of a conspiracy theory. I don't think it's a Liverpool only issue, but I do think that there are teachers' pets, for want of a better phrase. And I think we are on the harsh end of it. I don't think we get anywhere near the level of officiating we deserve as a football club. It's horrendous, and I'm sick of it. And yesterday, we won despite the best efforts of VAR and Paul Tierney. And it's no accident that David Coote's at the scene of the crime for a lot of this stuff. He has neglected to do his duties as a VAR on a few occasions with Liverpool. You will have your own memories of them, but I hope that we can get to a point where all of us football fans, and hopefully the coaches, other supporters and media, will start to call this crap out, because it is pathetic. It's like so childish. And the worst part of it all is, normally in life, if you feel hard done by something or somebody, you can air your grievances and hopefully figure it out. But it feels like the PGMOL are untouchable. And when they have that power, or that lack of accountability, it makes it very difficult to feel like you're ever going to get a resolution. The only resolution for me seems to be to just disband them and reform, or train up VAR-only officials that have no relationships to the referees. It just feels weird. And I don't see it in any other sports or any other industries where we've got these groups of people that have this carte blanche, that have an undue influence on the game and aren't really accountable. And they make excuses. The glorious excuse that they love these days is, of course, clear and obvious. Because that's what I told you yesterday, they were going to trot out the clear and obvious when they didn't look at the Darwin Nunes foul on the Burnley player. And surely enough, that came out. They didn't view it as clear and obvious enough. But they were quick enough to send the referee to the monitor when they viewed Mohamed Salah being in defender's line. And do you know what? I went out of my way last night to watch the highlights on Sky of our game. And not one mention on the highlights of the game of the push on Salah. All the commentators on that clip said was it was the right decision. Mohamed Salah was clearly blocking Trafford's view. They in no way brought up the fact that he was pushed. And all that does is reinforce the shenanigans of VAR and the officials. Because if the broadcasters aren't calling it out, and it's not even coming up in the highlights of the game, something stinks. And I'm lucky I had you guys yesterday. You were able to say to me, Craig, because I initially said I agreed with the decision, right? I initially said, look, Salah is in his eye line. I can't find fault with that. Seems fair. And then you guys said, no, Craig, have a look. There was a push. And the push was one of those things that when you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And now I can't unsee it. Somebody said it was mentioned on Match of the Day. Honestly, I didn't see Match of the Day. I missed it last night, which is why I watched the highlights on the Sky app. And it wasn't mentioned in that. And that disgusts me, because it's another thing that gets brushed under the carpet. Another shafting of us. Thoughts on United's comeback yesterday? What can I say, mate? I'm an honest man. It was a big comeback and a big win. And I didn't see it coming. A 2-0 up, mate. I thought you might get into the game. Maybe force a late draw at best. But I give credit where it's due. And if we'd have done that yesterday, I'd have been sitting here absolutely buzzing today. So yeah, fair play, man. Good win for you guys yesterday. And weirdly, it helps us. Because United aren't going to be in a title race this season. But you have your own ambitions on top four. But that helped us with Villa, I guess. The American stream did show the Salah push. Nice. That's good to see. I'm glad to hear that. We need more of this though, right? Because we've been shafted again, only this time we won. So the pushback from the fans isn't going to be as much. But we can't just keep forgetting about it. And I know you guys are probably sick of me banging on about it. And I know sometimes I come across as the miserable git. But honestly, it's getting it's not an accident. It's not. It cannot consistently happen to us. And sit here and think, you'll get all the usual excuses. They even themselves out, blah, blah. doesn't. It doesn't. Because look at the games it's happened to us in, where it's cost us. 2 top of the table games this season against 2 London clubs, and both of those games seen us shafted. Nobody, and I mean nobody, will ever convince me that Martin Odegaard did not handle that ball and that that wasn't a stonewall penalty. Nobody will ever change my mind on that. Flawless Football said, I'm still not over the handball in Odegaard. And you're not even a Liverpool fan, dude. You're a United fan. And I'm fuming about it. Because I have to look at Mikel Arteta and that referee laughing and joking at the end of the game. Arteta leaving there with a, pardon the pun, pep in his step and absolutely bouncing. And delighted. You could see how happy Arteta was to leave Anfield with a point. But we could have won that game. We could have beaten Luton if Virgil van Dijk had have gotten the penalty that he should have gotten. We could have beaten Spurs if the goal that we scored legitimately wasn't ruled out. These are things that people just call us sour for, but they have a huge impact at the end of the season when you're talking about fine margins. Fine margins are what top level football is all about. And if you can shade those fine margins to your opponents with these iffy decisions, it feels like sometimes you're working against the system. That's my take on it. I'd love to know how you guys feel about it. And also, we'll move in. This stat on Endo, because I want to read out these stats to you because it's so impressive. Wataru Endo has started 7 games for Liverpool Football Club, had 5 victories, 0 losses. We have only conceded 3 goals in those 7 games. We have averaged 2.4 points per game, and we have had 2.7 shots on target. When Endo doesn't start, we've played 12 games, we've won 7, we've lost 1, but we've conceded 12 goals. So even allowing for the difference in games, let's say that 3 goals we've conceded should probably be up to about 5 or 6. You can see it's almost halved when Endo starts. And then we get 2.1 points per game versus 2.4 points per game. And we concede a lot more shots on target as well, 4.2 per game versus 2.7. So Endo's certainly doing the job. He's certainly stepping up. And it's only right that we give the man the credit. And of course, give Jurgen the credit. So interesting stat there on Wataru. Imagine Arteta if the handball was against Arsenal. 100%. And he'd have been right. That's the thing. He would have been right to be fuming about it. And that's the thing. If we can sometimes just push aside our rivalries, just for a minute, like we did on the Super League stuff, when all of us came together because we knew we were being shafted. So I think it's going to have to happen with the referees as well. Because no matter what club somebody supports, they will have 2 or 3 stonewall decisions that they disagree with. Already I've seen that there was an apology issued yesterday in one of the games. I can't even remember who it was, but the PGMOL have already issued an apology over one decision. The apologies don't get the points back. The apologies don't help anybody. All we get is this, oh, they're human, they're human, they're human. Come on now. Interesting comment there from the Tree Cairn. Said McAllister doesn't get back in. It's a really interesting conversation because I totally understand where you're coming from and I'm very intrigued to see it. Now, the downside for Endo, my friend, is that he's going to go off to the Asian Games or the Asian Cup. I can't remember what it's called. So that will give McAllister a chance to show what he can do again. So it'll be very interesting when Wataru comes back from the tournament, what way Klopp decides to go with the midfield, and particularly the number 6 in midfield. Because, it's a good headache, but I'm intrigued to see what Jurgen does with it. Do you think Arsenal will drop points tomorrow? No, not because it's at the Emirates. I don't think they'll drop points against West Ham. I'm not expecting them to drop any points, if I'm being honest. I'm intrigued to see what happens tonight in the Everton-Manchester City game. The lads are going to be doing that on top of the league, by the way. Adam and Ben will be going through that game for you guys later on. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I think there's more chance of Everton doing something against City, even though slim chance, than I think there is of West Ham doing something against Arsenal. Elliot over Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai should start in Gravenberch's position. Taran, it's interesting you mentioned that, dude, because I was sitting here earlier on trying to trying to think through my starting 11 for the Newcastle game. I know it's a few days away, but I always give these things as much thought as I can. And my mind was kind of going in the same direction as yourself. I feel Elliot absolutely deserves a starting place based on what we've seen. But I don't want to get Szoboszlai out of the team, so I'm kind of thinking, similarly to yourself, can we do Szoboszlai on the left and Elliot on the right? Or even maybe Elliot on the left, because his efficiency and class is really starting to show for me, Elliot. And I think he's right there pushing for a starting place. So look, let's get into the transfer stuff anyway. I have a couple of comments from Mark I need to get through. Chat's been saying Barcelona left back is Balde, 16 league games. So there you go. So it wasn't calling me bald, so thank you for that. So Paul Joyce said Mohamed Salah will depart Liverpool for the AFCON after the Newcastle match on January the 1st. So one more game with Mo before he departs. We'll be without Endo and Salah for the FA Cup game against Arsenal. McAllister should be back around January 1st, according to Paul Joyce. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment with them. When are Thiago and Bajcetic back? Said the detective. You should know that, mate. You're the detective. Honestly, I don't know. I think Thiago's closer, but can I be really blunt about Thiago? I really don't give a shite when he's back. Because I don't, like it. Thiago's done in a few months. I'm not really overly concerned about when he's back because I think we need to start looking ahead to life without Thiago anyway. Bajcetic is the interesting one for me, and the truth is, mate, I haven't got a clue. Have not got a clue when to expect Stefan back because the only updates I've seen have been that there's multiple injury issues. And that's it. Somebody did remind me that Stevie G had a similar issue, growth spurts issue or something, when he was coming through. So, you know, I'm hoping that this isn't something that's going to roll on throughout Stefan's career and that it is something about his growth or his age that we can resolve. Right, so, as I said, let's get into the transfer news anyway. So we'll start off with a little bit about Inacio. So really conflicting reports in the media about Liverpool's interest in Gonçalo Inacio from Sporting Lisbon. It seems to be that we're interested and Arsenal are interested. And depending on what outlet you read, the level of how confident we are changes. So as an example, LFC Transfer Room posted at Journal Noticias, who I think are the outlet in Portugal, said Liverpool will move in January to secure the signing of Gonçalo Inacio as they're showing consistent efforts to establish a relationship with the Portuguese side. They also say Spurs, Newcastle and Arsenal are interested, and we know that the €60 million or about £52 million is his release clause. Another article, this time Ebola, say that Sporting Lisbon are expecting Arsenal to come in and trigger that €60 million release clause for Gonçalo Inacio. So as you can see, it's a mix. And I don't know, I think our need is certainly greater than Arsenal's in that position. You know, you fully expect Arsenal to look at something for Ivan Toney and possibly a midfielder, but yeah, I'd hate to lose him to Arsenal if we wanted him because we need a centre-back. We really do. And I'm still confused as to why we didn't pull the trigger in the summer. All I can think of is that the injury to Joel Matip has maybe tweaked Liverpool's plans a little bit and we're bringing it forward kind of like we did with the Diaz situation when Spurs were interested. But either way, we need to do something in January because we can't just allow our competitors to strengthen and not answer it because we have deficiencies in our squad and I think we should look to address them. A little bit from Fabrizio on Endo as well. He said, Liverpool are 100% convinced Wataru Endo is going to be an important player this season and a bargain signing. Klopp made the difference as he approved Endo as he considered a perfect and a serious player and top professional for a cheap price. So, look, that's standing up to be true at this point. Took him a little bit of a while to get going, but I don't think any of us can say that we don't love Wataru's impact over the last few games. He certainly won me over in a big way. And, yeah, it's great. I love when these things happen like that. If we get this bargain, and look, it might only be 2-3 season thing, maybe even a bit longer, but I love sniffing out a bargain. And look at the impact Turo starting to have for us. And then look at the £115 million man at Chelsea. I'm not saying he's better than Caicedo, but I'm saying he's performing better than Caicedo at this moment in time. Simon said, love your content, Craig. Thank you, mate. You're very kind. Appreciate that. So, another bit of interesting news, this time coming from Graham Bailey, who I believe works for 90 Min, said, I understand Liverpool are looking at Fulham's Anthony Robinson as they look to solve their left-back issues. So, Anthony Robinson stood out to me when we played Fulham. I didn't even know his name at that point. I just remember in the post-match show saying that left-back of Fulham's had some engine to get up and down that side. And Fulham were one of the teams that I think best exploited the space that was left by Trent when he drifted into midfield. I remember them causing us a lot of trouble, and it was because of the engine and the work rate of Anthony Robinson. Now, I won't sit here and profess to know if the man can defend or not, but I certainly remember the impact he had down the left side for them, and he looks like he's a bit of an energizer bunny in that sense. So I truly don't know how serious that link is or if he's good enough to play for Liverpool. But I'm also happy that we are looking at the fullback side of things because, you know, we could do with a fullback. Whether it's a versatile fullback or just a left-sided fullback. With Costas out, with Robbo coming back and looking ahead to the longer term, I just don't know if Anthony Robinson's that guy or not. Michael said Endo is not the answer. I think he kind of is at the minute, mate. Like, let's be fair about it. Nobody's trying to say Endo's the greatest defensive midfielder in world football, but he's certainly shown that he can have an impact in a positive way. Who do you want to come in as another forward? I don't know the answer to that question because truly the forward situation for me will only start to make sense when we know what's happening with Salah. Can Soboslai play as a right wing when Mo's at the AFCON? Said Queen Nadra. And again, thank you for your super chat, my friend. Yeah, of course. But I'm wondering, are we going to see Elliot there? Because we've seen Elliot there in the games where Klopp hasn't played Salah, whether he's rested Mo or whatever. We've seen Elliot there, and I think Elliot's probably the most likely at this point. Davino said, as a fellow American, I don't rate him. And you would certainly know a lot more about him, you know, you American football fans, because you would have watched him for your national team as well. I've only seen little glimpses of him on highlights and when we've played Fulham. But he's got a lot of the ingredients that we like, right? An attack-minded fullback. He's got energy for days. And I guess Klopp could probably hone his defensive side a little bit. But look, I've not even seen a number, to be honest with you, with regards to how much he could cost. How many games will Mo miss? I don't know, off the top of my head. I think it's 3 league games. See, it depends how long and how deep Egypt go in the AFCON as well. Mohamed Kudus might be the Salah successor. So I'm going to continue to say what I've always said. For me, right club, Taron, wrong player. Bowen is my answer. But Wirtz is the real answer. Like, if we want to actually go out there and like make an impact signing, I think Florian Wirtz would be the dream scenario to bring in if we replace Mo. I'm not even saying he's like for like. I'm just saying he's another great forward, a versatile forward, a young forward, a well regarded forward. And I really, really like Florian Wirtz as well. So he'd be top of the pile. But I do like Jared Bowen, as you know. Robertson is an Evertonian, so I don't know if he'll leave. Well, Carragher did it. So I think McManaman, if I'm not mistaken, was a blue as well. So it's been done before, mate. And look, ultimately, it's Liverpool Football Club. It's a big deal. So, I don't know. If he's that stubborn, it's weird, like, but I don't know. Maybe he is. What's Florian's price? Look, honestly, Omar, I'd imagine you're nearly spending whatever you get from O. Honestly, like, I think Florian Wirtz, you're talking €100 million, which is a lot of money, but, that's the way football is these days, isn't it? If you're a standout talent or an up-and-coming talent, it's weird now. You don't just pay for potential. You used to be you pay for quality. Now you're paying for quality and the potential as well. Burren Bean said, if the handball happened to Arsenal, Arteta would grab the team and legitimately walk out. You see, that I think that's what it might take at some point. I know that sounds sensationalist, but I've thought about this if I was in Klopp's position at times, and truly, I can't say I wouldn't do it. I cannot say that after some of them decisions, like the goal against Spurs or the handball, that I wouldn't do what you've said. Because sometimes somebody's going to have to make a stand. And I don't know who it'll be, but they can't keep getting away with it. Because, we look at it from a Liverpool perspective, of course. But other clubs, look at Gary O'Neill. I don't know how that man hasn't lost his mind this year with some of the decisions that Wolves have had to suffer. I've seen that we're linked with Liao. Is that true? No. Not that I'm aware of. I don't... For a couple of reasons. Firstly, what I've read about Liao and quotes from him suggest that he's very comfortable in Milan. But I tell you what, there's a link today coming out of Italy that kind of did take me aback a little bit. And it's about Nicolo Barella. So, there's a website in Italy called L'Interista that said Liverpool are looking to sign Inter Milan's Nicolo Barella, who's 26 years of age. But they're saying that Inter are now going to try and get him to sign an extension. His current contract, I think, runs out, 26. And they're looking to get him to sign to 28. I just don't see this for me. I'd love it. I think Barella would be on top of a lot of lists, but I just don't see it. I think it's another one of those stories that is our name being mentioned so that when they get him to sign an extension, they big themselves up, saying that they've battled off Liverpool and they've fought to keep Barella in Milan. That's kind of what I take from these type of articles. It's like we'll drop in a Liverpool name or we'll drop in a United name or something just to big up themselves when they manage to keep the player, if you get me. Hi from Finland, Yimi, Poco and Moss. I hope I've pronounced them right, dude. Thank you for watching, my man. I hope you're well and lots of love to you and your family. So Diaz, I'm going to start about Diaz because I look down and sometimes genuinely I just glance at the chat, pick a topic from what you're saying, and there's a couple of comments about Lucho. So let's have a conversation about Lucho. Poll? Should we get a poll up asking, do people feel that Lucho should be benched? I think that's where this conversation's going. Now that Jota's back, I think people are starting to question the starting front three. So let's get a poll. Seconds. Right, simple question. Bench Diaz, yes or no? For me, it's a yes. I think we got a very quick signal from Diogo Jota yesterday about a difference maker in the final third and about a finisher and about a goal scorer. And we seen that in Diogo yesterday in the brief time he was on the pitch. And it was a proper goal scorer's goal, that as well. Tough angle, through the keeper's legs, good finish. And we need that. So for me, if we're going into the Newcastle game, and I'm not going to give you my entire team because I want you to watch the preview when it comes out. But right now, as I sit here, Jota's going to get more days training. He's going to get a rest as well because we've got enough time between the Newcastle game. So I would start with Darwin on the left, Jota in the centre, and Salah on the right. That's how I would play. For a couple of reasons. One, after what Diaz did to Newcastle, but St. James is coming off the bench, and the fact that he scored a goal yesterday. Jota, because I think he's the most natural centre forward that we currently have there. And then Mo, for obvious reasons, because it's Mo. So that will be my front three for the game against Newcastle. I don't know how you guys feel or what your front three would be. Another comment from Queen Nadra. Is Paisley Gates reliable for transfers? So, how do I say these things without getting myself in trouble? What a lot of people don't realise, because why would they unless they look into it, is a lot of these sites, like Paisley Gates, are reach media companies that are all linked. So you'll see a lot of similar layouts. So as an example, Liverpool.com, The Echo, Paisley Gates, they're all interlinked companies, and you'll see a link from one company or a quote from one of their articles up on another website, and people think that these are prominent sites or whatever. They're not. They're just all interlinked, and they're all helping each other out. And that's where we've always been on the outside, because we don't have these relationships. If you knew this industry, like I've gotten to know it over the last 6 years, you would see these connections, and you would see things like the FCAs as an example. That's not about who's the best. That's about who's in the little clique that award show is being put on by. Look into it. Look at the connections there. Look at Snack Media and some of the interests they have in our industry. I'm not saying I'm not here to slander any of them or anything like that, but in answer to your question, is it reliable or not? Truthfully, I never heard of it until I seen them on the Echo listed as a source. So I don't know. All I can say to you is they're a part of that Reach Media group of outlets from what I'm aware of. I've misshot his impact and his finishing skills, said Marcus. Yeah, he showed it like straight away yesterday. Dude comes back, first game, off the bench, scores the goal that gives us a bit of breathing room. And scores the goal, and it wasn't lost on me that in that moment, he scores the goal after Diaz made a Hames of his opportunity in the same move. So Jota almost picks up the pieces from Diaz making a mess, and then turns it into a goal. So yeah, very quickly we got a little reminder of what the Ogo's all about. Award shows are thrash. Look, we put ourselves forward for the best newcomer in the FCAs 2 years ago, I think. And we didn't make the final. Now, people say, when I got salty about that, you did make the final because maybe the others are better. Well, we had more views, more subscribers, and more monthly views than all of the channels that made the final combined. And we didn't even get into the final. That stinks. And it hurt, because I thought this was a level playing field. I thought we'll be recognised as a good newcomer, maybe we'll make the final. Wasn't arrogant enough to sit here and think we'd win it. But when I see that bullshit, and then I speak to some of the judges who were judging the finalists, and they told me that they didn't even get our name put forward, it makes you think. And then I see the Lifetime Achievement Award, or the Hall of Fame, and I thought, yeah, okay, you go into the Hall of Fame, we'll continue getting all the views. That's fine. But you can't keep us on the outside forever. And it pissed me off about this industry from the start. Is there are cliques and groups that want to keep everything. They combine views together. They combine sponsors together. And they keep other people out. And it's not an accident. And you sound bitter when you say it until somebody gets into the industry and they see it for themselves. And then they're like, oh my God, you're right. So I've learned more from this because, of course, Ben has come over to us. And one of the first things Ben said to me when he joined from the United Stand was, my God, it's a lot harder to get views as a Liverpool channel. It's like, I'm paraphrasing, but he'd say something like, we could put up any old crap and people are coming and watch because it's United. There are these things that people don't see, but behind the scenes, they really piss me off and anger me. Because you grow up and you just think, naively, if we're good at something, we'll get the exposure. Like sport, you think if I'm a great football player or I'm a great tennis player, my talent will be enough to get me there. Or my work rate and talent and growth will be enough to get me there. But it's not always the case, particularly in this industry. This industry is very much a case of who you know. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I know content creators who are a lot better than me. who have nothing. They don't get views. They don't get the opportunities. They haven't had the break. I got lucky. I got the 7-2 clip. Went viral. And we built from that. But it's soul destroying at times, lads, because it's not about how good you are. It's a part of it, but it's not all of it. Fabrizio said Diaz ain't leaving. I mean, I don't think anybody is suggesting, at least I don't think so, that we're expecting him to leave. But the conversation is about should he start or not. And I don't think he should at the minute. So we have a poll up, which is there for you guys to vote, where we simply just ask, bench Diaz, yes or no. So far, it's running at 80%. People saying yes, he needs to be benched. And look, we can say this with love in our hearts. We don't have to. We're not trying to slate Lucho. Nobody wants to undermine our own players. But think of what he's been through. And he's human. Of course it's going to impact him. And it's okay to say somebody's not in a good moment. Pull them out of the limelight for a bit. Let him catch a breather. And we move on. That's okay. You don't have to say, oh, Diaz is trash, sell Diaz. We don't have to have that conversation. Audrun Reed Asgard, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, my man. Thank you so much for your support. Just another reminder, by the way, if you are in America, Anfield Agenda, March 22nd at the House of Blues, right across from the Fenway Park, the Boston Red Sox home. We will be live right there in the House of Blues Foundation Room on the 22nd of March. Tickets are on sale at Ticketmaster. If you would like to come and join us, if you're in that part of the world, we'd love to see you. If Liverpool didn't exist, which club would you support? I feel like I don't even have to answer that anymore. I feel like I can just ask the chat to answer that question for me. I'm Matic, because I get asked that a lot. And the chat know the answer. It's Newcastle, probably. Because I look at it from the point of... Now, this is pre-takeover, right? Because you've said if Liverpool didn't exist. So pre-takeover, I've always looked at Newcastle and thought, I like their fans. I like the vibe that always comes out of St. James's Park. Any Geordies I've met have always been sound. So yeah, it'll probably be Newcastle. Now look, anyone that knows me knows I've got two clubs. I've got Liverpool and Barcelona. But I got to admit, well, what's happened to Barcelona over the last few years, I've stepped away from the feelings I used to have towards Barcelona. I feel it's grubby and I don't like it. So I've kind of backed away a bit. But Barcelona was the first football shirt I ever owned. Mbappe is a little spoiled boy. Throw money and power him at a young age. I would not love to have him in my team. So the only thing I would say to you, Mookie, is if it ever got to the point where Liverpool signed Kylian Mbappe, and look, I know we're talking fantasy stuff, but if it did, I wouldn't be concerned about the attitude, because I would fully expect that Jurgen will have sat down and had these conversations with him, and that he would have got the reassurances he needed. Whereas if it got to the point where the contract was signed, I would give Jurgen the benefit of the doubt on that, because we know how good Jurgen is at keeping harmony inside that dressing room. Many impact/confident strikers: Diaz, Jota, Nunes. So I wouldn't put Jota in the same camp as Nunes, because I feel like Nunes has more natural talent than Jota, but is nowhere near as consistent as Jota. But I love having them both. But Jota quickly showed us he's a goal scorer again yesterday, and that was, to me, a big statement to say, yeah, I'm back. Don't need to worry about the forwards anymore. Your boy's here. What do you think about Kubo for Salah's replacement? Problem is the Real Madrid thing. Like, if it was a Sociedad player, I'd be like, yes, go get him. But we know Real Madrid have the option to trigger the I think it's €30 million buyback option that's in their contract for next summer. And I think, open to be corrected, but I think it's only valid next summer, or it's not valid until next summer. So potentially you could do something in January. But I've not seen anything. The only link I've seen from a Premier League club to him has actually been from Manchester United. Great show, mate. Better loads of other channels. Thank you. Appreciate that, Mark. Look, mate, I'll be honest with you. Some people come on, do their shows, and they talk about what they want to talk about. I'm not that interested. I like to kind of have a few notes ready, but ultimately I want you guys to lead the chat because I want to know the subjects you want to talk about. And that's why I try to prepare a multitude of things. So if you raise something, hopefully I have somewhat of an input that I can give. Craig, obviously this isn't going to happen, but what would you think about buying Kane? I think any human being that says they wouldn't want Harry Kane as a striker in their team is fooling themselves. I don't particularly like Harry Kane. But to sit here and say no to a guaranteed 30 goals a season would just be silliness. Because say what you want about the man, he knows where the back of the net is. And my fear was that United signed him. So when United didn't sign him and he went to Bayern Munich, I was relieved. Because he's leaving the Prem. Less of a hassle for us. So look, not going to happen as you said, but who turned down 30 goals a year? It would just feel weird to say, no, I don't want somebody that can bag 30 a year. Would you swap Diaz for Kvaratskhelia? I probably would, but I also have questions about Kvaratskhelia. I don't know if he's consistent enough. I'd prefer Leao on that side over Kvaratskhelia. I see a lot more consistency in play from Leao. But as I said earlier on, Florian Wirtz I'd rather over any of them. Bit of a weird link, and I've not heard this one anywhere else, but I read this today, and it's on the Echo if you want to go over and read a bit yourself. It said Liverpool in transfer race to sign defender Nino. Now, the article reads, Liverpool are reportedly among the teams interested in Fluminense defender Nino. According to Alfredo Padula, the Reds and Fulham are monitoring the Brazilian but face competition from other European clubs such as Feyenoord and Roma. Nino is entering the final 6 months of his contract next month, and it's been claimed he has a €7 million or £6 million release clause. 26 years of age, 239 appearances for the Copa Libertadores champions and World Club Cup runners-up. No idea. Anybody got anything about this dude? About Nino? Apart from it being fun to say, and who doesn't love saying Nino? This came completely out of the blue for me today when I was reading the Echo, going through preparing for the show. I don't know who he is. He's a defender from Fluminense, and I've got to say, of the few times I've watched Fluminense, I've been looking at Andre. I've not really paid any attention to the defenders, but I don't know. Be aware. I'd much prefer Inacio because at least I have a bit more info on him. Did you see the interview with Klopp last night? Post-match interview. Have I seen that last night? No, actually, I haven't. To be honest with you, I haven't seen the post-match stuff from Klopp because I had a really busy day yesterday. So we did the watch-along, finished it, did the post-match show. Then I was straight over to top of the league for the United watch-along. Then I was straight back to Anfield Agenda to record the player ratings. So it would have been about 10:30. And I think at that point, no, I didn't even look at any more football stuff till I watched the highlights on the Sky app from our game. He's the Fluminense captain, said X-Pulse. Let's have a look. You're right, he's got an armband on. Now that you mention it, mate, yes, he's got an armband on in the picture that I'm looking at. Craig, I see that Liverpool have lost interest in Andre and Man City are interested in the January transfer. So, the latest I'd seen on Andre, who was it that said this? Adriago, was Fulham had agreed a fee, and I did read that they had now agreed a fee, and it was going to be a decision for the player to make if he wanted to move to Craven Cottage or not. Manchester City are most likely going to move on Calvin Phillips in January, because Calvin Phillips will want more game time ahead of the Euros. I've told you guys for months that I believe if Calvin Phillips leaves Man City, it'll be Newcastle or Juventus. And I think Newcastle are trying to sort a deal from what I've read. So maybe that does open up a space for somebody in the Manchester City midfield. I think it would be an incredibly poor choice for Andre to go there because you're straight away behind Rodri. And it's not like Rodri's 32, 33. So yeah, I wouldn't... If I'm Andre, I wouldn't make that move. Do I have an Irish club? I mean, I do keep lookout for an Irish club, but I'm not going to profess to be a fan. But Shelbourne would be the team that I'd always look out for, because they're the ones my uncles brought me to games when I was younger. My dad dragged me to St. Pat's a few times, but that's because one of his friends played for St. Pat's, so he was getting free tickets, and my dad was a bit of a cheapskate in some things. Michael said 1.4k in the chat and 313 likes. Please hit that like button. Please do, yes. And also, I want to say thank you again. As you can see, top corner, 233,000 members of our little community, which means a lot to us here at the channel. So thank you for your continued support. What's this one? So apparently, Klopp had confirmed that Jarell Quansah is going to be a fixed part of the lineup, which is what we all want to see. He deserves to be. Jarell Quansah's been magnificent since he's come in. If Jota had Nunes' physical attributes, he'd be the best striker in the world. But he probably wouldn't be able to do what he does with the manipulation of his body, if you get me. I totally get where you're coming from, because Jota has the technique and the more honed craft is probably the right word. But I think the fact that Diogo's more slight of frame is actually a positive thing for him. I prefer Hincapie over Kelly. He's way faster and better passing. I think, look, for us as things stand, if we're looking for a defender in January, the front runner now seems to be Inacio, based on the media over the past week. Can't say I've seen any respectable links to Hincapie for January. And also, let's be honest, why would Bayer Leverkusen look to cash in on anybody in January? They're on an unbelievable streak in the Bundesliga, top of the league. They're sailed through to the knockout stages of the Europa League. And Xavi Alonso wants to win something. So I can't see them cashing in on Wirtz, Hincapie, or anybody else. Jonathan Tah was another name linked to move away. But I can't see them cashing in because, like, flip it and it's us in that position. You're not going to want to sell. Like, flip it and think of Saudi for Mo in that position. We ain't selling Mo in January. We're in the middle of a title race. And I think it's the same for Leverkusen. They know that money will still be there in the summer. And actually, if he goes on to win a league with Leverkusen or, you know, go deep. I'm not going to say win the Europa League because, you know, we're winning that. His price probably goes up. How's the family? They're good, thank you, Adam. Yeah, can't complain, my man. All good. Hope yours are as well. Hope all of your families are well. Another one here. So, another article from Ebola said Arsenal are leading the race to sign Sporting's defender Gonzalo Inacio. They say Liverpool are repeatedly linked, but Arsenal are the most likely club to follow through. So you see what I mean about it being a mixed bag. Mixed bag on the links. So Mark has just sent me a stat, and he wants to credit Mike for the stat. And I didn't see this one, but Darwin Nunes and Bukayo Saka, excuse me. Darwin's made 18 appearances this season to Saka's 17. Saka has 5 goals and 6 assists. Darwin has 5 goals and 5 assists. Now look at the conversation around both. Saka is rightly being lauded as a quality player, which he is. But Nunes' conversation is very, very different, right? Nunes' conversation is he's a flop, he's crap, whatever. But there's not much between them. Sometimes in these things, it is the narrative that forms our opinions. Which is why I'm not a huge fan of using statistics to back stuff up. Mainly because I'm not qualified to talk about statistics. But sometimes I use them to challenge my own perceptions. And this is one of those situations. Because if you ask me straight out, who's having the better season, I'm going to say Saka. I think most of us in the chat would probably say Saka. But it's not backed up with the numbers. He's slightly better. He's got one more assist than Darwin. But yeah, it's the narrative of the conversation. And it's a habit as well. As much as I talk about referees and bias towards London clubs from the PGMOL at times, I feel like it's the same about players in the media. You know, look at when we wanted to sign Caicedo, right? I think that was a really good example of some people very quickly showing their London bias in wanting, almost willing, that deal to happen for Chelsea over Liverpool. And that really angered me at the time, because I'm thinking, you're journalists and you're undermining your own reliability or your own position by showing really clearly that you really want this kid in London. Never mind that Liverpool was by far and away a better move. By far and away a better club, in a better position, with more consistency in Europe, and will challenge for the league. But you've seen it yourselves. The media were just, oh, London, Caicedo, Chelsea, oh. Saka also takes penalties for Arsenal, said the detective. There you go. So yeah, sometimes this is why I challenge at times and push back on certain things. Because a lot of our fan base are swayed by social media. And I'm lucky that I'm not on social media. So I don't see the bias on social media. Because I don't have Twitter, I don't use it. I'm not on TikTok. I know Anfield Agenda is, but if you look at my phone, I don't have any of the apps on my phone. So I use my own judgment on things. And sometimes I get pushed back on. Like, I'll give you the example. The other day, the goal, Canade and Gabriel. No one's ever convincing me that that wasn't Canade's fault. No matter how many times people want to blame Gakpo for playing him onside. For me, 100% that was on Canade. Mookie, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, my man. Every time I hear the name Mookie now, I know it's spelled differently. I think of Mookie Betts, which is the only player I knew from the Boston Red Sox that they got rid of or whatever because there was such a big furore over it. What's your team of the year? Oh, dude, I don't know. That wouldn't be a top of the head conversation, you know. I'd have to sit down. But you know what? I might do it because it's a good idea for a video. I'll do a team of 2023 before the end of this year and get that video up. It's a good shout, mate. Thank you for the suggestion. The old chestnut of one game at a time's never been truer than at this stage of the season. Oh, Peter, spot on, my man. Spot on. I'm just happy as a football fan that we have a title race that is so exciting for the league. You know, not just for us as Liverpool fans or for Arsenal or for Manchester City and their 3 fans. It's great. But here's what's not great, Peter, and I don't know if you'll agree with me or not on this. It's not a level playing field. That's what's annoying me. I feel like we're pushing against or swimming against the tide here a little bit, in that if we win the league, it will be despite the efforts of certain officials. Where if Arsenal win the league, I feel like it could be very deserved, but also with a little bit of a helping hand from some of the decisions. If we lose this league by a point or two, I'm going to be furious because of what we've seen. Like, because we know what it's like to lose the league by a point. Yeah, we've been there on a couple of occasions and very much worn that t-shirt. And in those years, we look back and we thought the clearance off the line against Manchester City, the width of a post being the difference. And that's what you want to say. You know, you want to say, okay, we lost the league by a fractional decision, but that was a decision that was genuinely happening on the pitch with the players, nothing to do with the officials. This year, we're being shafted. We're just being shafted. And also, yeah, as you said, Manchester City should officially be known as 115 FC. I don't even pay attention anymore to anything about Manchester City because I don't feel it's a valid point. When I'm sitting and watching Sky and they start talking and praising Manchester City, I just swap channels. I can't be bothered listening to it because I know I'm not going to get a balanced conversation from the pundits. Because every single sentence about Manchester City and every opinion should be caveated with, if they're not cheating scumbags, then Manchester City are brilliant. Or if they haven't been cooking the books, then Pep Guardiola's a genius. Everything else has to be caveated with the fact that they may be cheats. And they're not doing that. Any advice I've got on mental health? It's... Look after it. Take it seriously. Don't underestimate the impact of it. But most importantly, don't feel ashamed if you're suffering. You've nothing to feel ashamed about. Your mental health's important. My mental health is one of the most important things in my life. And I go and see a psychologist every couple of weeks. And I work on things constantly behind the scenes all the time. And I've gotten better at putting on a brave face to come on and do a stream. At times when I don't want to. At times when I don't get out of the bed for most of the day. But thankfully, I go long periods now where I don't have those moments. But I put that down to two things. The support system I have in place of my family and professionals, and the community I've built with you guys here, which doesn't judge me. Sometimes I get judged, but it's usually from people who pop in to be an asshole. The people that know me don't judge me. And it's allowed me to build confidence that I hadn't had. But yeah, do look after it, man. And don't ever feel like asking for help is a sign of weakness. It takes strength and courage to say that I'm not right. And, put your hand out for help. And if anything in this generation, I will say is, I'll take the piss out of young people about a lot of stuff. I will tell them that they're responsible for a lot of the stuff that annoys me. But they're also responsible for finally kicking the door down to the stigma of mental health. And this generation don't judge people for it. They understand it. And that's a beautiful thing. So whatever has caused that, be it education, be it just more conversation about it, it's a good thing. Because look, I've lost parents who had their own demons and drank themselves to death or took an overdose. I've lost friends who committed suicide. And I often think what my life may have been if I didn't go down this particular route and I didn't have this lucky community, or if I didn't stumble into this and I didn't have this support network. So I consider myself one of the lucky ones. But some people out there don't have the opportunities that I've had or the support system that I'm lucky enough to have. So man, look after yourself is basically the long-winded version of what I'm trying to say to you. Hello from West Virginia in the States. Country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mount Mama. That's all I think of now, mate. Thank you for that. Every time I see your name now, I'm only going to hear that song. We need to sign a winger to push Diaz. I agree. Josh Brown said, I've suffered all my life with mental health and people are changing for the better. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Absolutely. But I'm going to be honest, because I'm always honest. I found two things by speaking about my mental health. I found people to be supportive and understanding, and they are the majority. But I've also found on my journey of being open about my own struggles, it's been used against me. It's been used against me by other content creators to try and make out that I'm unstable. I can't make rational decisions. It's been used against me by trolls. And I can't tell you, a week doesn't go by that I don't get an email to say, do what your parents did and kill yourself. A week doesn't go by without me getting one of those. So I've had to step away from the emails and give the emails to the lads because I don't want to see them. So yeah, look, it's not all good. It's not all going to be positive. But ultimately, man, the ones who matter will be there with you. The rest, that probably says more about them and their own issues than anything for yourself. Have I ever done drunk karaoke? The only time I did karaoke, I was like 7, and I was on holidays at the Verde Mar Hotel in Mallorca with my parents. You're not going to believe this because I sit here and sing stupid songs all the time, but I'm too scared to do a karaoke, even if it was with my best friends. I don't know why I feel different sitting here in front of the computer, but not a hope, man. Not a hope. I couldn't get on stage and sing a song. I would shit myself. What else we got? In fairness, all the refs are garbage. Yeah, they aren't great. So we're going to end that poll anyway, and it was 76% of you guys said that at this moment in time you would bench Diaz, and there was 1,200 or so votes there. It's a tough one, but it also feels a little bit weird at the minute that we've got such a break between now and New Year's Day when we play Newcastle. I'm confident that we can do this season. We'll need a bit of luck with injuries, but we get Robbo back. We bring in a defender if we do in January. I'm also really intrigued to see how the team is balanced when Mo goes away, because it'll give us a little glimpse into what life may be like without Mohamed Salah. And then we'll see. We'll have a sample size of games without Mo. And now, of course, without Endo as well, as he's going over to play with Japan. So this is going to be an interesting period. As the media said there, this is going to be Mo's last game before he heads off to the AFCON. So it's going to be an interesting time. Somebody said something to me, and I want to get a poll on this for the last few minutes before we finish up. Let me just type it before I explain it to you. Right. I'm going to put a poll in the chat, and the question is, would you be okay going out with the FA Cup? Now, hear me out. I don't think we're capable of going on a forefront challenge this year. And we've found our way to the semi-finals of the League Cup. And we have the FA Cup coming up in a game where we're not going to have Salah, we're not going to have Endo, I don't think. And I'm not saying we throw the FA Cup. But what I'm saying to you is, if you offered me a win against Arsenal in the league at the Emirates, or a win against Arsenal in the FA Cup, I'm taking the league victory over Arsenal. Because that's where my mind is. League, Europa League. League and Europa League. That's where my mind is at the minute. So if we had to lose one of them games, it would be the FA Cup one for me. I'm going to say, I don't give a shite about the FA Cup. If we win it, we win it. If we don't, we don't. I've always told you guys I'm more of a fan of the League Cup. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. But I am. So I'm okay. You never want to see Liverpool lose. You're never going to will Liverpool to lose. But it wouldn't piss me off too much if we went out of the FA Cup to Arsenal. Because it also gives Arsenal another distraction in the season in a title race. And when Arsenal would play, we'd rest. So that's what I'm saying. That's the angle I'm looking at. We won't get much of a breather. They're in the Champions League knockout phases. They're in a title race themselves. A little extra few games in the FA Cup and an injury or two that might pick up along the way there, or a dent in confidence could help. What happens if we draw with Arsenal in the FA Cup? I can't remember if the replays are back in or not. What? This is the third round of the FA Cup. I think there's replays, so I'm thinking it'll be a replay at Anfield. Use the kids. Yeah, that's fine if we're prepared to use the kids, understanding that, you know, we could lose the game. No problem. Craig Nunes, 18 games, 5. Yeah, we just went through that stat, Mr. H, a minute ago. Exactly as you said, Nunes, 18 games, Saka, 17, 5 goals apiece, 5 assists for Darwin, 6 assists for Saka. There's not much in it, mate. Why not go for all the remaining trophies? I know, it's easy saying that, but look what happened to us the year we did that. We came up short in the 2 big ones, and the next season, the headache or the hangover was massive. And look at what it's done to City. City did a treble last year, but were on for a quadruple at one point. And look at them this season. They haven't kicked on either. They've, for whatever, either got arrogant or fatigued, whatever. But they're not the same. So we've already got to this point having done well in the League Cup, and we've got to try win that now. You're in the semi-final, you've got to try win the League Cup. As I said to you, with Arsenal having an extra few games, and I don't know, I think it could benefit us if we weren't in it over the course of the season. Like if Arsenal go deep into the FA Cup, it's going to take its toll on the squad. So I don't know. It's a weird thing to say, but I'm not going to be too upset if we do get knocked out of it. Liverpool ain't winning any cups. Yeah, mate, we're just in the semi-final of the League Cup and favourites to win it, but we're definitely not winning any cups because some arsehole on Twitter or on YouTube comes on and he learns how to use 3 emojis and thinks he's funny. But who's going to beat us? We're better than every team left in the League Cup. We ain't losing to Fulham over 2 legs. And Chelsea, well, we'll beat them on penalties because that's the way that works. So I don't understand where you get that stupidity from. History not teach you anything about our football club, dickhead, no? Not the most successful club in English football by accident. We should just focus on 2 competitions to avoid exhaustion and injury. Look, League and Europa League, but we're already in the semis of the League Cup, so we got to try and win it at this point. You doing any shows in Ireland? So how do I say this? The plan was to try and do a series of shows in the UK at the end of the season. So my plan was London, Liverpool, Cardiff, Glasgow. But I parted ways with my manager in the last few days, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it all on my own to figure it out in the time frame. But the answer to the question is no to the Irish show. There's none planned. There was none being talked about. But I did want to try and get over to England to do a few. I just need to figure out if I can sort it out or not. But come over to Boston. That one's in the books, remember? Boston show, right there. 22nd of March. Tickets on sale on Ticketmaster. Treat yourself to a little weekend in Boston. I think Everton will get something tonight, but I'm expecting some gifts from the officials. So I was looking, and there's a guy on the Sky app called Jones, and he does this section called Jones Knows, where he goes to and predicts everything. I think he's predicting an Everton win tonight against Manchester City. I'm going to be an interested spectator because I am going to be watching the game because the lads are doing the watch along. I'm off tonight, so I'm going to be sitting back at home watching the game. Do you think Spurs will make top 4? Oh, that's a tough question because I feel like the top 3 places are pretty much sewn up. And then you're looking at Aston Villa and Spurs for me as the next 2. And I don't feel comfortable to say I fancy either one to take the position. If Villa had beaten United last night, I would have felt very confident to say they're going to at least get top 4. But nobody will be able to convince me that result and the comeback of Manchester United last night against Aston Villa and their capitulation won't haunt those players. It will. Anybody who's ever played football and has thrown away a lead like that at any level, even at our level as amateurs, you don't forget it. You don't. And if you got 2-0 up in a game and the team pull one back again, that devil's on your shoulder going, it's going to happen again, it's going to happen again, it's going to happen again. So I think unwittingly United have actually done the rest of us a favour there. Because it wasn't like they were beaten by Manchester City that came back, or Liverpool or Arsenal. They were beaten by a very up and down Manchester United team that had no confidence going into that game and were able to come back into it and turn it around. I think that's going to haunt them. What do you think of Darwin's performance yesterday? The goal was exquisite, you know, and not just the finish, the getting back up and rejoining the attack. Good signs from Darwin yesterday, and I'm more comfortable with him on the left, personally. I like him, Jota and Salah to play Newcastle. That's what I go with. Adam said, Craig, I'm loving this new team starting to gel. Signs of something special. What do you think? We're ahead of schedule, yeah. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have thought going into the league. My aim was top 4. Top 5 maybe if that's going to get a Champions League. But my aim was Champions League football before the season started and to win the Europa. Because I feel like when you're a team that's been in the Champions League for many seasons, like we have, going into the Europa, the only acceptable outcome is to win it. Anything else, it doesn't put an exclamation point on the fact that it's a one-season thing. You need to be back in the Champions League. But as the season started and I watched Manchester City, and I think if my memory's right, I think City won their first 3 games or something like that. And I came out with a statement and I said, lads, I'm not scared of this Manchester City team. They're not the same team. I'm not seeing the same fear factor in them as in previous seasons. And initially, and understandably, I was laughed at. People were like, dude, they've won every game. They're going to walk it. And I just felt they're not as strong. Now, I didn't know yet if we were going to be able to challenge them. But I knew that there was a chance that somebody could grab this league by the scruff of the neck this season and capitalise on an opportunity. But now I definitely believe we're as good as anybody. And yeah, it's ahead of schedule. And we still have a little bit of work to do in the market to strengthen the squad properly. But we're there or thereabouts. And you can never say in something this close that you're going to do it. But by God, we're as good as anybody else in this league. And that's the fairest way I can say it. Craig, as usual, when the pressure was on, these teams like Villa crumble. After beating City, people forget City had no midfield in that game. It happens a lot. And weirdly, if I'm a Villa fan, I wouldn't necessarily look at this as a bad thing. Because sometimes success can come too early and it's not sustainable. And what Unai Emery is doing at Aston Villa is fantastic. And what their owners are doing is fantastic. And Villa fans have every right to be optimistic about their future because they have a damn nice team there and the manager's doing a great job. But a league title race, it's too early for Aston Villa to be thinking about league title races. Arsenal, they have the muscle memory now. They know what messed them up last year. And they're going to keep pushing. We know what a title race is all about. We know the lows of losing one. We know, thankfully, the joys of winning one. But I'm buzzing, man. Genuinely, 3 teams can win this league. And 3 good teams. And the race is on. Right. I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to record the transfer video and a few other bits and pieces. But thank you guys for joining me again this evening. Lots of fun. Appreciate your time. Enjoy the games tonight if you're going to watch them. And hopefully we can get some favours done for us and Everton can take some points off City. But yeah, much love. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time. I'll be early tomorrow as well. 5 o'clock or 5:30 tomorrow. So do make sure the notifications are on. Do drop a like because we've only got 400 likes and we can get that up to 500 if you take 1 second. And please, yes, do hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so. Yeah, much love. And the lads are on top of the league tonight, by the way, for the Everton-Manchester City game. So don't forget to go over and show them some love. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you. Much love. Bye.